Yo, what's going down, Green Screen Entertainment? Your homie Jay Green back right now with a review for Together. Yo, have y'all seen this movie? It's about to be Halloween time, and that's my favorite time of the year. Halloween is my favorite holiday. So I'm about to be bringing y'all hella more scary movies, thrillers, suspense, psychological swag, things of that nature. Now, this movie came out earlier this year. I hella wanted to see it in theater, but I wasn't able to get around to it, and I just caught it last night on Amazon Prime, and let me tell you, damn, this movie is good. Now, this movie was written and directed by Michael Shanks, and it stars Dave Franco and Alison Brie, who are actually real-life husband and wife. Aw, ain't that cute? Now, for those of you out there who have no idea what this movie is all about, basically, we're introduced to this couple years into their relationship. Dave Franco's character seems to be a musician of some sort. Alison Brie's character, she's a teacher. They end up moving from the city all the way out to the country. And a few days after they get there, they end up going on this hike. They trail off the beaten path, as they say, and they fall into a well, if you will. They're stuck there all night. They end up drinking that water, and when they come back, they start to notice some crazy supernatural-ish jumping off. Something that is literally pulling them together. Now, on the surface, while this might just seem like a couple got lost in the woods and they came back with some type of supernatural virus situation that's going to F up their lives, this movie is actually a well-done metaphor for long-term relationships, codependency, commitment, and the fear of losing your identity within all that. And it was extremely well written and well directed, phenomenally acted by all parties involved. Let me tell you, one of the things that I really loved about this movie was the vibe and the look. From the very beginning, you get the vibes that things have been going on in this relationship. They're never fully addressed as to what parties did what, if they ever actually did anything, but we can imagine that being in a relationship for so long, one person acting like maybe they're not trying to be intimate, the other person wants them to be, one person's trying to compensate for that, all that back and forth business, we've all been there at some time or another, so we can easily relate to that. But at the same time, when they go out to the wilderness, right, when they move out to the country and this situation starts to jump off, what I loved is how it was actually brought about, how it actually started to take place over time and how it affected them in particular. There's a lot of creepy elements and creepy visuals, sounds, and things like that that you don't see straight off the tip in this movie. So you're wondering what's going on here, what's going on there, what could it possibly be? And I was kind of waiting for some type of supernatural being or entity or whatever to kind of come after them, but that's not what it is. Remember, this movie is a metaphor for that codependency and that commitment aspect in a relationship. So the only issues that we're really going to see here are the issues between them two. You dig? And so the way that those things start to happen is just as nerve-wracking and just as suspenseful as if you were watching a monster coming to attack our protagonist. And I thought that was super creative, very well done, extremely well executed, and creeped me out many of times in this film. Also kept me on the edge of my seat in a couple of interactions that they have in public. I ain't gonna tell you what it is. You got to check out the film for yourself. But I think from top to bottom, when it came to the creep elements, the idea of what's actually going on between them, the metaphor, and the understanding of what it means in a long-term relationship to kind of feel suffocated, locked down, trapped in this situation, unable to break away from that person that you're with. Phenomenal. Let's talk about the acting real quick. Like I said before, Dave Franco and Alison Brie are actually husband and wife, and their chemistry, as you would imagine, is off the charts in this movie. And it kind of reminds me of the vibes that I got from John Krasinski and Emily Blunt in A Quiet Place, in that the subtle looks that they gave each other, the touch and the feel of their relationship felt extremely genuine. But when either one of them was in peril, it just felt a lot more real based on the way that they looked at each other, helped each other out, and dealt with the situation. And I got that same exact vibe in this movie because Alison Brie and Dave Franco are clearly in a real relationship. So I bought into the situation that they were involved in because of that chemistry that they had between them. Now, not to say if these two were in the same film with someone opposite who they're actually married to, that they wouldn't be able to act their asses off and sell it. I'm sure that they would. They're both great actors, but them actually being in a relationship was a nice touch. I thought the pacing throughout the movie was great. One, because we're just kind of waiting to see them come together and how that's going to look, to what extent is it actually going to be? I didn't know to what extent it was actually going to go to, but I had heard rumors that, yeah, something's pulling them together quite physically, right? So as you're waiting for these things to happen, how they're going to, come together, how they're going to separate, all that type of stuff kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat as you're going through the film. And you're also kind of waiting to point the finger at certain people like, is this person behind it? Is that thing behind it? Is this the problem? What's the deal? How are they going to solve this mystery? This movie gives you some understanding as to where, how, and who might be responsible for what's going on, but it doesn't fully explain what's jumping off. And again, I think that was super fly. Not only did this movie execute a metaphor for relationships, but it didn't spoon feed you every little detail. It gave you enough details to be like, oh, okay, cool. It was this thing over here, but we don't know how this thing came to be truly. We don't know what the powers are that are making this thing happen. We don't really know those details. So that's just kind of vague and left up in the air. And you know what? It didn't need all that. All it needed was this couple, what they had going on, and what we saw. And let me tell you, what we see is pretty freaking crazy. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Now I'll say two more things before I get up out of here. One, like I said before, this movie's got all the creep factors and all that sort of suspense and tension. There was one actual scene that I haven't felt that nervous in quite some time. And when it kind of comes to fruition and the scare comes, I was like, whoa, I was actually really that nervous. So I thought that was super fun. So I definitely say check this movie out for everything I done already told you, including the fact that you're going to get creeped out and there's some moments that might actually make you jump just a little bit. The other thing I'm going to tell you before I get up out of here is probably the one thing that maybe didn't work for me, but I get what they're going for and I didn't really mind it that much, but I was just like, okay, is this movie does have some dark comedy in it when certain things are jumping off, and that's really, really fun. In the end of the film, the way that it comes to its conclusion makes perfect sense, but the visual that backed that conclusion was a little cheesy. That's all I'll say. So that being said, if you haven't seen Together, check it out. I think you'll enjoy it this Halloween season. Fun body horror. And if you've been in a long-term relationship, you might be able to identify with some of the things that are jumping off, right? Hopefully your relationship is good, but you might be able to identify with some of that, right? And if you have seen this movie, let me know what you think in the comments below. Did you think they were going to take it to where they took it? Did you expect it to be what it was? What are your thoughts, y'all? Yo, your homie, Jay Green, I'm out.